Welcome back to coverage of the Magic World Championship. I am Ailey Loney alongside Cedric Phillips, and we are gonna jump right back into the action here. I know you want to see the best players in the world playing some Magic. Cedric, I gotta ask you though, who do you like in this matchup? We have one of the greats in Seth Manfield and one of the newcomers in Noriyuki Mori.
Potentially future great in Mori, who has shown a lot of prowess over these 3 years that he's been playing Magic. For me, look, it's risky behavior to pick against Seth Manfield. So if I'm forced to pick somebody, even though I don't think Seth loves his deck, and those blue cards didn't come, I still think this green-white deck that he's put together is pretty good. I do like Seth in this matchup, though I do expect it to be a fairly close one, Haley.
I am super looking forward to seeing this. These players were seated next to each other at the draft table, so fighting over a couple of those blue and white cards. Seth ended up in the Selesnya deck, while Mori is mostly Azorius, splashing a green for Catilda. So let's see if that card does actually show up to the party, and as I say it, there it is in hand for Mori. So pretty good start there for him. Got all his fixing down.
Yeah, totally fine hand here for Mori. Seth's hand is also acceptable. Of course, Seth is going to be looking for a third land here. So Guardian Savior is the first draw step as we're underway here in our second round of this fantastic tournament.
Oh, heck yeah. I have been itching to get to this weekend. It has just been such a great build-up. I get so hyped every time I see how these players got here, and I can't imagine just how stressed out, nervous, anxious they must be to be playing this weekend.
It's not a bad start here from Mori with the Devoted Graph Keeper. Also has a copy of Faithless Mending in hand. Catilda, a little awkward insofar as you do have access to green and white mana, but not one of each, so can't get that powerful creature onto the battlefield. But you know, we're getting things started off pretty well here if you are Mori. Otherwise, with it looks like a little draw to discard to gain some life ski poos coming up.
Seems pretty good. Gale Drifter would be one of the targets if that is the way that Mori decides to go, as that, of course, can come back a little later. Granted, it's not as cool, but still pretty useful being able to play these cards twice, essentially.
Yeah, a little bit of value. You might just see a land and just pass, though, and that looks like what we're going to see. So Seth does have the opportunity to get Cathar Commando on the battlefield.
Yeah, this card has been interesting. You see a lot of people, favor it quite highly, and other people are like, no, it's a one toughness creature. It's gonna die. But I think that the earlier cards have proven to be pretty darn effective in this format as it's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to want some 2-drops to get the party started in this particular format. Now, you're not going to, run somebody out of the game very quickly with 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. It can happen, but there's not an expectation there because there is a lot of removal in the format. But because you do have the potential for that to happen, you want to make sure that you don't get run over by just a handful of creatures as well. So you're going to see decks that do have plenty of 2-drops and 3-drops. What you're going to find here, unfortunately for Seth, is the lack of a 3-drop, and that's pretty simple as to why. No third land.
Unfortunately, Bounding Wolf won't be making an appearance unless we find a third land here for Seth Manfield. Also has the option of Search Party Captain. If a land is ripped off the top, gets cheaper with the attacks. But Devoted Graph Keeper is going to get in there for 2 more points of damage, and the follow-up here is Gale Drifter. Big ol' 3-2 in the air. There is land number 3, so Seth will be happy to see that.
Yeah, a little late to the party, but better late than never. So we'll see if Seth does want to do any attacking here, if he does just want to play Bounding Wolf. Looks like he's going to serve in here with the Commando.
Yeah, and in no universe is Gale Drifter ever blocking that 3-1, so there's some nice chunk of damage. Down to 16 goes Mori, and likely going to try and get the good old up dog, as I like to call him, Bounding Wolf. Sneaky Deek style, catch that Gale Drifter perhaps?
Looks like he's going to go for just drawing a card with Search Party Captain. Going to use Bounding Wolf maybe a little bit later over the course of this game.
Doesn't find a 4th land, unfortunately.
Yeah, Silversmith is a nice draw here for Mori. A couple copies of that card in his Bant deck. Again, just splashing for that Catilda. Curious if he wants to go that route or just use all of his mana this turn with Soul Guide Gryff. That's a decision right now for Mori.
Soul Guide Gryff is kind of like a feels bad if you don't get to hit anything with it, but in this format, flyers have proven to be very, very good. In most limited formats, if you can get an evasive creature, you're going to have a good time. So I am keen to see where he goes with this.
Looks like he's going to keep it simple with just a Gale Drifter attack, and if he's doing that, then he's of course not going to play the Silversmith post-combat. Wouldn't make a ton of sense. So there's your 3-4. Not going to get any value of exiling up to one card in the graveyard, as you mentioned, but now it's just flying beatdowns, and that is a thing that green-white decks can be a little bit susceptible to. That's part of the reason I think you're seeing Seth start a Bounding Wolf as an example, because even though it's not the most potent of creatures, it does allow you to tackle flying creatures well enough, maybe a little bit of an exchange there. So Mori definitely ahead as we are working ourselves into the mid-game.
Oh, for sure. Having 2 flyers in the air, being ahead on lands, looking very, very good here indeed for the Japanese player. Search Party Captain, is this going to get blocked or not? Might of the Old Ways is, of course, ever looming there in the hand of Seth Manfield. But let's see where he goes here, if we're holding up mana for the Bounding Wolf, or if we're going to Eccentric Farmer and try find land number 4.
Yeah, a couple of options here for Seth. Seth would have loved, of course, for the Soul Guy Griff to block, but there's really no reason for Mori to block there. Just take your 2 damage, use your life total as a resource. It looks like post-combat we're going to see a Centric Farmer.
Oof.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Yep.
Oops, indeed.
Could we make a petition to change oops to oof?
Yeah,
That would be...
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, you need it.
A little bit more appropriate. This ends up being a really, really nice turn here for Mori, too. Gavany Silversmith's going to pump up the jam on these flyers. You get to play Catilda as well, so all the mana's worked out beautifully. 2 really good cards in the graveyard as well, and really no meaningful way for Seth to catch up. So game 1, Ailey, right in the books.
Easy peasy. Let's take a look at the sideboarding options that we do have here for these players. Now, just a reminder, this is round number 2. Both of these players are 0-1. I picked Seth Manfield to be my champion, so I'm really hoping he's going to pull one out here and get on the winning side of things pretty shortly.
Well, when you do pick Seth as your champion, or just to win a match like I did here, you're generally in pretty safe hands. Unfortunately for him, and fans of him, he did not find a 3rd land on time to kind of curve out 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. Ideally, he was going to go 2-drop into Search Party Captain. That trigger probably draws the 4th land, so on and so forth. But you also saw Centric Farmer not cooperate there as well. But more importantly, Ailey, as these players sideboard, easy peasy, but no lemon squeezy?
No.
I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed.
It's all right. There's still 2 games to go, so let's see if Seth can tie it up here. And Noriyuki Mori, just taking a look at his sideboard. What is he going to bring in?
Yeah, it looks like players are moving around quite a few cards here right now. Seth getting out one of those scarecrows from the sideboard. You see him kind of analyzing things. One thing worth noting here, if you're taking a look at Seth's deck list, only 16 lands. Some players like 17 lands, some players like 16 lands. Seth has a pretty low curve, but he also does have 3 5-drops as well. Eccentric Farmer, 2 of those, looking to tie the room together as far as the land drops are concerned. You, of course, have to get the 3 lands first for Farmer to kind of do its thing, and then ideally it mills over your 4th land, and you're kind of doing your thing that way. But also, Seth doesn't have a ton of mana sink, so it does make some sense why he's just saying, I'm just going to play 16 lands because I don't have a ton to sink my mana into later in the game.
Well, let's hope the lands play a little bit nicer in this game, as we're going to get right back into it here at the Magic World Championship. We are in round number 2. Plenty of Magic still to happen today, as we're going to take a look at the opening hands here for both of these players. Well, 1 land for Mari, that's not great. Seth Manfield is happy with his 2 landers.
Well, we saw
that's
Seth
a lot better.
We saw Seth keep 2 lands last time. Didn't work out for him then, and it was also just like last time. This time it's also a Search Party Captain kind of draw my 3rd land, Search Party Captain, that draws my 4th land, kind of chained together that way. So we'll see if it actually breaks right for him this time around. And so far, 0 for 1.
Yep, no 3rd land off the top. Timberland Guide's going to hit the board, put the counter on himself. And we're going to carry on right along as Ambitious Farmhand. I love this card. This card is great, because white decks typically suck at drawing cards. So if you can find your 3rd land with this, and you have a couple Search Party Captains, oh, you are sitting pretty.
Yeah, it does do a really nice job of tying the room together. Looks like Seth bricked off again. He'll do some tapping at the window. And Dualcraft Trainer, incredibly powerful card if you can cast it. So we'll see if he does get to that point in the game. But as you mentioned, the Ambitious Farmhand, one of the reasons that card is so powerful, just like you said, is it does find that 3rd land drop, tying you to your 3rd land, ideally to your 4th land, something like that. Good later in the game as well. And as you can see here with Mori's hand, it's really, really nice. He's got something to do every single step of the way. Devoted Draftkeeper now, a 4-drop in Silversmith, a 5-drop in Soul Guide Griff, and a little bit of interaction in Geistwave.
And also finding a Gale Drift off the mill of the Devoted Graphkeeper, so he's going to be pretty happy with this start indeed. Cathar Commando, you're not a land either. But, you know, we're going to work with it.
This might be a runaway here for Mori, which is
Yeah.
so big for him in a spot like this. When we think of Mori, when we think of a player who's been playing Magic only for 3 years, that's impressive enough that he's here right now. But he even admitted himself he is not a limited mastermind. He is unbelievable constructed, and that's where a lot of his focus is. So this might be the weaker part of his tournament. And we were playing against Seth Manfield. Any win's good, but
Mm.
Seth, one could argue, is a better limited player than he is a constructed player. So to maybe steal one from him here, there might be some mental fist pumping going on here right now
Yeah.
if you're Mori.
Yeah, I mean, Seth Manfield considers himself a better limited player. He's even said that he wished that the top 4 in this tournament was limited. So he feels pretty confident in his abilities, and we've seen the results to prove that he is one of the best. And sometimes, unfortunately, your deck just doesn't behave.
Yeah, well, it's got to start right now for Seth as far as a comeback is concerned. He can play this commando on the end step, and he certainly will. This third land's got to come right now for him to get back into this game.
Off the top, let's go. Hey, now, you're not a land. Rude.
Not a land at all. Not a land at all, Lunark Veteran.
On
Mike
the plus
Sigrist
side,
invitational card.
yeah, on the plus side, though, he can swing and hopefully yeet a land off the top here with Search Party Captains, so he's got that going for him, albeit not great.
Yeah, and we're gonna see if blocks are gonna be declared here, because remember that we all know that Seth does have a couple copies of Pump Spells in his deck, 2 copies of Might of the Old Way. So again, this might be a situation where Mori says, maybe I do want to block and force you to cast that card. Maybe I'll just take the damage, use my life total as a resource. Now, if you're Seth, you're gonna play Search Party Captain. Ideally, draw planes off of this, because then you can either play the Veteran or the Candle Trap.
Ah, it's something. Well, it's a land. We're not.
It is a land.
It's fine.
Yeah, it is a land.
All right, slowly but surely getting there. Just got to make sure he doesn't die in the interim. As you know, Mori's start has been it's been absolutely blazing. He's just gotten the perfect start in this game number 2 here, and up against a blue-white deck, which is arguably the best deck in this format next to blue-black. Like, Seth has got to get super lucky from here on out.
Yeah, the difficult part here for Seth is he doesn't really have a lot of catch-up mechanisms. It's easy to say that he doesn't have a card like a sweeper, but those are rare in most limited formats, so you can't really rely on that. So if you're Seth right now, the plan here might just be, you know what, I got to tender some blocks even if I don't want to. I got to hope that maybe you're flooding out even if I don't like it, and maybe get a little lucky along the way. Luck on Seth's side also looks like drawing a land for the next handful of turns. Running off of planes, running off another plane, so to be able to start double spelling and hope that Mori's deck is not cooperating at all. The tough thing when playing against a blue-white deck, kind of built around Disturbed, is, yeah, sure, let's say you trade with that Grafkeeper. Well, it's coming right on back.
It's gonna come back.
Yeah, so that's what makes it really, really tough for Seth to catch up in a spot like this.
Super tricky indeed, but Soul Guide Griff is going to add even more woes to Seth Manfield, as it's going to exile the tapping at the window. There is land number 4.
Yeah,
just a lack of like, mana. Yeah, it's green. There's so many white cards in hand. Like you mentioned, he would love to start double spelling, but it's not going to happen at this moment.
Well, I do like this, because when you are kind of far behind, maybe your opponent overthinks things. Give yourself the opportunity to get a little bit lucky in a spot like this. So we already know, we can take a look at Seth's hand. There is no pump spell there. And Mori might be thinking, well, what are the ramifications of if there is a pump spell? That might be the way that Seth has to spend his entire turn, and I might be totally fine with that. So it looks like the Griff is thinking, Commando, I'm going to eat you alive. We're going to see if that actually ends up being the block, though.
The hungry Soul Guide Griff.
Doesn't have the same ring. Doesn't have the same ring as Hungry Hippo, but I'll allow it.
Well, it's a hippogriff, right? That's its creature type.
Hungry Hippogriff.
There you go.
Let's trademark that. Let's get that taken care of real quick. That's a lot of money our way.
Soul Guide Griff blocks, so a good decision made there by Noriyuki Mori, saying, I don't think you've got it. May suspect the second copy of Search Party Captain to come down here, but let's see which way Seth goes.
Yeah, and more importantly there with that block, that might be Mori saying, I don't care if you do have it. Because again, if you do have it, that might just be your entire turn, and I'm good with that. So you saw the block, you saw the damage come through. 12-9 in Manfield's favor as far as life total is concerned, but battlefield advantage, at least for right now, I think is all Mori.
Oh, for sure. I bet Seth would have loved to have seen the ambitious farmhand get in the way of that attack there, just so that thing doesn't flip, because there's a lifelinker on the other side, and it'll be, what, a 5/5 when it flips?
4/4 with the counter. Yeah, now we need a little bit of help with satisfying the requirement, because we got 2 2-powered creatures and 2 3-powered creatures, but all it takes is 1 draw step, so it's not the end of the world.
Ritual Guardian's gonna join the fray, hopefully find another creature, which we see is available in Lunark Veteran, to enable the lifelink on it, get that Coven ability going.
Taking a look at if Geistwave has any interest in clearing the path right now, you could just bounce the Ritual Guardian Servant here for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, put Seth down to 2, and then you've got 4 lethal attackers. Also, if you're Mori, you're not too scared on the crackback, right? You end up taking 4 points of damage. It would take a lot for Seth to be able to kill in a situation like this. So we could just see Geistwave bounce your Ritual Guardian, serve in for 10. Excuse me, yeah, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, put you down to 2, and then Mori might just say, hey, do your worst. Could also take a more conservative approach here because he is pretty far ahead.
Looks like 3 creatures are going to get in here for some attacks. Soul Guide Griff is going to hang back, just in case there are shenanigans afoot from Seth Manfield's side of things.
Yes!
Oh.
Yes!
Shenanigans be damned.
Let's go! One way! And then, I mean, but the reason I like this is because you've got 2 interactive spells, right? You've got Geistwave if you want to get this Ritual Guardian out of the way. And if a pump spell works itself into the equation, not only do you have Geistwave to kind of one-up that, but you also have Sun Gold Barrage as well. So you could conceivably say, I'll attack you for 10, put you to 2, pass with my mana up, best of luck. Yeah, and that's exactly what he did. So I love this because he has 2 instant speed interaction spells that trump anything that Seth could do right now.
He does it that. Might of the Old Ways is the card that he's kind of been, you know, faking that he has in hand.
Because even if Seth does this, even if Seth plays Lunark Veteran pre-combat, right, and that's going to trigger Coven to turn on Ritual Guardian's lifelink. Yeah. All right, well, I'll just bounce that, and I'll take my damage from the other creatures if that's what you attack with, and it's going to finish you off in the air. So for Mori, things have gone right, and he has definitely played the game very well too. So A plus B equals C, and C in this instance, I think Haley is going to be a victory. Yeah, and you can even see Seth. Seth is frustrated down there. You can see.
Sure.
He's just like, I can't really do anything. Like, right, I can attack with Ritual Guardian, pump it with Might of Old Ways. That'll be +2/+2, and it'll draw a card because of Coven. But again, Mori's got these interactive spells, and Seth is one of the best limited players of all time. He knows that Mori has something because he could have brought Gildrifter back via Disturbed and didn't do that. So what do you have then? Right? Do you have nothing?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? But unfortunately, Seth's instinct is correct. There is something afoot. Geistwave is going to send back the Ritual Guardian. That's not enough damage to get the game one and done here. And Mori's just going to make doubly sure that he is doubly indeed dead. So 2-0 for Noriyuki Mori against one of the best limited players in this field. He's got to be feeling great about that. So kudos to Noriyuki Mori.